Good evening. Mwahahaha. Happy Halloween, Brooklyn and Levi. I am your host, Uncle Brandon. And tonight we are going to have Halloween story time. We will be reading A Halloween Scare in Texas. Written by Eric James. Illustrated by Marina LeRae. Grandma has told me that you also have a copy of this book, so get it out and we'll read along together. Shall we begin? Prepare if you dare for a Texas-sized scare, a night of pure terror to whiten your hair. A tale filled with sights that are best left unseen. You ready? You sure? This was my Halloween. The werewolves howled loudly, the moon shone so bright. I stayed in my bedroom, the curtains shut tight. My heart started pounding, my knees felt so weak, but being a brave kid, I just had to peek. I pulled back the curtains, my mouth opened wide. An army of monsters had gathered outside. They staggered and stumbled and lurched down the streets with bags full of cookies and candy corn treats. Emerging from sewers and houses and stores came creatures and critters with ravenous roars. Then more came along from all over the state. They filled up the streets at a dizzying rate. From Houston, El Paso, Fort Worth and McKinney, the tall and the small and the large and the skinny, all gathered together for one spooky night to seek out the living and give them a fright. The thunder clapped loudly with terrible booms. The witches dodged lightning and clung to their brooms. The two-headed doggies tried chasing their tails, and banshees let loose their hideous wails. The vampires hung out on the streets in their gangs and grinned just to show off their pearly white fangs. The mummies moaned loudly and swayed side to side, while Frankenstein stomped about town with his bride. The cowboys and cowgirls rode skeletal stallions. The pirates set sail down the street in their galleons. The 10-foot-high pixies caused a panic and fear. Y'all know that the fairies are bigger down here. A friendly old sea creature made out of sand said howdy to everyone, shaking their hand. On top of his head was a 10-gallon Stetson, and that's how I knew that he must be a Texan. The creepies were crawly, the crazies were crazed, the zombies from Austin had eyes that were glazed. The ogres from Dallas were ugly as sin, with big bulging noses and warts on their chin. The ghouls danced around but were lacking in soul. The gargoyles could rock and the headless could roll. Although the whole spectacle seemed to spell doom, I foolishly thought I'd be safe in my room. But then something happened that made my heart jump. From somewhere below I heard a big thump. I froze for a moment as quiet as a mouse. Yes, I could hear noises from inside the house. I put in my slippers and pulled on my robe. I shook like a leaf, but I didn't think it showed. Then slowly but surely I crept down the stairs, preparing myself for the biggest of scares. My hands trembled wildly, I opened the door. I still shudder now at the horrors I saw. The stereo spat some hideous sounds as dozens of monsters jumped madly around. The sight was horrific. It made my skin crawl. These monsters were having their Halloween ball. And right in the middle, one monster loomed tall, the hairiest, scariest monster of all. He turned round and saw me. I fell to my knees. "I'm not very tasty. Don't eat me, please." He beamed ear to ear and broke free from the huddle, ran over and gave me a big monster cuddle. "At last we have found you," he said with a smile. "From Lubbock to Brownsville we looked for a while. We came here to give you your wonderful prize." He held up a trophy in front of my eyes. "A prize? And for me?" I replied with a grin. "But what did I enter and how did I win?" "You've won first prize for a costume you're wearing. It scares me, even me, and I'm tip-top at scaring. This isn't a costume, I'm just dressed as me. Exactly the scariest thing you can be. A small human child with a cute button nose. Your teeth are so shiny. You've only 10 toes. No hair on your face and no horns on your head. The whites of your eyes are not glowing red. A bone-chilling costume, a horrible sight. A worthy ensemble for a Halloween night. We partied together until the moon set. A Halloween night that I'll never forget. And next year I won't hide in my bed. The monsters won't scare me. I'll scare them instead. And there you have it. Happy Halloween. I hope you guys have a good one. Be safe, okay? Love ya.